If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Hey there, CEO Mischief Makers, MKJ here, and I have one thing to say. Do you want to be fulfilled? One question to ask, if you will. Do you want to be fulfilled? You need the Be Fulfilled Journal. Tony Grebmeier was on my show. If you haven't listened to it, please go listen to his 3 episodes, because I guarantee you this will make a difference in your life. It's not just a journal. It's not just any kind of journal that has you write down different things that you're going to do in the day. This is really like, forgive the pun, turning a page and charting a fresh course. If you want to achieve goals, you want to boost your creativity and actually feel fulfilled, you need the Be Fulfilled Journal. Call me mkj.com/Tony, and you will go directly to where you can get this journal. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. All right, Mischief Makers, welcome back to the conversation. MKJ and Tony Grebmeier, thank you again for joining us on this Wednesday. Monday, if you listened to that mindset episode, if you haven't yet, shut this off, go back there, because you have to start there, because we're going to take that 30,000 foot level now and bring it down into, as Tony talked about a minute ago, the helicopter level. Instead of the jet, the wonderful airplane that we all take to our travels, now we're in the helicopter. We're getting closer to the ground level. So Tony, you talked about in our last conversation these archetypes, and you're writing a book about them. Based on our conversation about mindset, who are you impacting now that you're looking forward? And you said that you want to impact people and help them grow in the same way that you've done. Who are you focused on impacting, and how have you taken these standard business or marketing or human frameworks that have been around for generation after generation of how we live our life, and how are you innovating those for your current time, your current situation, and the people you're impacting?
Great questions. I mean, I want to help any individual, despite their past, to create any future they want. Because I struggled in my past, and I was the guy who wanted to give up. So, when I started looking at where does my real impact lie? For me, I'm a believer. I wasn't created for nothing. I was created for something, just like I believe every individual who's listening or who will eventually listen. You'll have that moment in time when you're like, do I believe 100% full-hearted that I was created for something more? And that's myself, right? And so when I mentioned in the previous episode about getting into recovery, one of the things that I didn't realize was, and I didn't do this until I got into the dig and really studied being the archaeologist, was how many lives in my family alcohol had touched, right? My dad was an alcoholic, my grandfather, my great-grandfather had skipped a generation, my great-great-grandfather, and then myself, right? And so I had now what I call warning signs to pass on to my 2 boys, right? I had these things that showed up, and I said, hey, look, you can do what you want. I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't work for me, right? And they know, but everybody gets to figure it out for themselves. And so when I'm meeting with, I was working with a gentleman this morning, mentoring, and we sit down and we talk. And, my common questions are like, how's life treating you? Not your family, not your kids, not your job, but how's life treating you? And if we can break back all the way down to just the simple stuff, all the stuff that I'm teaching is really just like my shirt that I'm wearing today is, be a good person, right? The world needs people to hold up a mirror, to show others their reflection. I don't want to tell you anything that I don't think I would do myself. So when I'm working with an individual, and what my goal is I mentor men. That's always been my mindset. But I've been pressed a lot of late, and it's really interesting. I have 72% audience of just men in social media, right? So I've got this massive following, and then I got this like 28% over here, females. But if you ask me on any given day, I said, I think I see more women show up on my comments and my likes and that kind of stuff. But it's really just the opposite. So I got to this space where I was like, all right, maybe what I've been doing is neglecting my true calling, which is, if I really go back to, I want to help people despite their past to create any future they want. That doesn't say a specific segment. Yeah. It's available to all. And so that's why I've created tools and resources that any individual at any time, it doesn't matter if it's an app on your phone, if it's a journal that you want to write in, if it's a podcast you want to listen to, soon to be a book. I want tools available to all individuals without any like hesitation of who I could help. Because if I close my eyes and I grab your hand, you're a human being with a heartbeat. And I want to pump my life, my energy into your soul to give you the hope and desire that, you can create anything you want.
Yes. And that your journal right there, that isn't necessarily for men or women. It's a journal. Anyone can pick it up. Anyone can use it. And it's a very powerful tool. So how did you, let's take that for instance, and the book that you're writing, there are millions of journals out there. I mean, probably not millions, I'm exaggerating, but lots of journals that people can buy. So what was it? How did you take that structure of daily routine or daily conversation with yourself and innovate it to touch the people you want to touch and the people whose hand you want to grab?
No, I love it. The interesting part about the journal, and it came because of a couple things. I would go to masterminds, retreats, workshops. I would come home with all of the crap that they wanted me to bring home, right?
Right.
It's like, I don't need another leather bound thing with your logo on it that I'm never going to probably use.
Right.
And when I open it, I don't like your format. And so I started crossing people's formats out. And then I started taking all the paper that I would get from the shows and all the notes. And then I have a person on my team who comes in and organizes my office. And we just started talking one day, and I was like, I think I could structure this better. And conversation changed a few. And next thing I know, I was laying out what would work well for me. And that's ultimately what I believe all of us should do, is let's first make it for yourself before you go make it for the world. So I made it and tested it and tried it. And I gave it to a few people, and everybody started buying into it. And they're like, this is really cool. What do you think you can do? I'm like, I don't know. And so I got it down, and I realized what was different about what I was creating hadn't been done before. I'm not the inventor of the phone, right? Steve Jobs is like, well, I just decided to make the phone better. I wanted to make the journal better. So I put a course, a 12-week course inside the original journal. So maybe a journal you have today doesn't have that course, because I wanted to move and position some stuff with the app, and then also my podcast and then my book. So I changed some stuff. And so I decided to go out and lead a course. And in one of the exercises in the course is where drainers and drivers, an exercise that I teach, get taught. Also, life's dumpster, which is a great methodology and a great way of like looking about how our past is being pushed into everything we're creating. And so how do we disconnect from our past to then create an open future that doesn't have anything available yet to it, but you can put everything in it that you want. And so the journal just was really my work getting sober and clean, my work going through counseling and therapy, my work growing up in a really mixed bag of life and religion, and thinking, you know what, everybody told me what they wanted. I'm like, what happens if I brought something that was more refreshing? Something that was like, last night, I'm doing the dishes. I'm going to be a little weird for a second, but I'm doing the dishes and I turn on the faucet, and the thought comes to mind, how come when I turn on the water, I got to go pee? Like, I want to know the answer, right? That's how my brain thinks. My brain just thinks like that. I know I'm not supposed to eat McDonald's, but 5 minutes after I eat McDonald's, I feel like crap. I know these things. Why do I do these things? Right? They're just habits.
Right. Yep.
And so once I was able to identify that, I was like, all right, what would help me if I've got a kind of a different mindset, right? If you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, you can't think like the average Joe, right? I can't. I got to think
No.
like the customer buying. I got to think, where is my customer going to be? So I'm like, I want to get grateful that I have the opportunity in the morning to wake up. So I'm going to start with gratitude. Wait, no, I'm not going to start with gratitude because it's not the first thing that I think of when I wake up in the morning. My
Right.
current focus is, oh shoot, I got to get out of bed and do what? Oh my gosh,
Right.
I got to do
Right.
this. I got to go take this. So I said, I'm going to design and create the day around what's your current focus? Where do your thoughts go the moment you wake up? Oh, look at me on social media. No, it's not
Mm-mm.
about, I can't even see in the morning unless I put glasses
Yeah.
on, I am blind as a bat.
Right. Right.
First thought for me is my current focus is like, how can I spend an extra 5 more minutes with my wife before I get out of bed?
Yeah.
You know, how do I make sure that these two little fur balls that are laying in my bed, you know, get a little bit of love and attention? The 2 cats that I need to let out, the 4 ducks I need to go feed. Oh, and then I need to get up and get a little exercise in, and then I get to go drive and meet with somebody in the morning. I'm like, my current focus is contribution and connection. So if
Yes.
I can first contribute to what's going on around me, I'll have connection with all of those little beings. And then
Yes.
my day is off to a great start. Then I'm grateful for the ability to wake up with a clear head, grateful for a heartbeat, grateful for my health. And then if for me, the journal piece that I thought was so big is I had created to-do lists for so long in my life. Get this done, you gotta get to do that, and then la la la. And I was like, oh my God, I could do this forever and I'm not achieving anything. So I just wanted to rework that. And in the iterations, we've had 4 of them. We got a new one of the journal coming out here in a couple of days. And one of the things that we've done is just kind of revisited the drawing board. I'm like, how do I check in at the end of the day with myself and rate my day? Nothing journals have ever done. I've never seen it. Nobody's ever like, hey, how was your day? Are you tracking the things that are important to you? And are you tracking like me time? Because nobody really spends time. Well, we all think about ourselves 24/7.
Yeah.
Nobody really says like, what could I have done better today? So when I wake up in the morning, I'll know I already have a benchmark. I already have like the height of the hurdle
Mm-hmm.
that I know I have to jump over today to do better. And that's how I measure my success today. Am I doing better today than I did yesterday? And that's great. Then you're off to the races. And if you keep tripping up on what you did yesterday and it's really hurting you and holding you back today, it's time that you phone a friend, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like you phone a friend and you say, I'm stuck. And I think the moment you do that, you get a breakthrough in your mindset and you realize that we all need help and you're not alone in your battle, that everybody at some point is going to need something. Just don't be an asshole. Just be somebody who's willing to, you know, ask and then implement. And don't call 15 people on the phone after you call me and then wait. I'm like, I'm into action. If you take
Yes.
and value my friendship and our time together, then implement. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you better do something. Yeah, definitely. So 2 things come to mind with what you just said. Number one, you talked about the generational aspect of the alcohol that you were exposed to, and this has happened over generations. I come from a background with lots of abuse and physical abuse, emotional abuse, all that good stuff, and it is generational. And I'm really considered the black sheep of my family because I broke that. I did not continue to participate in it. I did not continue to accept it as normal. I broke it and got out of it and raised my children very differently. And what you were just talking about is that generational cycle. I can't imagine that you would answer this question in any other way other than yes. And the question is, are you the first person in those generations to dive this deep and ask yourself these questions and grow in this way from the previous generations who've all struggled with the alcohol situation?
So on December 14th of '08, I called my mom just like I do every day and just was talking to my mom and she was started asking me some questions and she knew I was separated at the time from my wife. And so she asked a question. She's like, do you think you're an alcoholic? I'm like, no. And she's like, then we started talking. She's like, you know, I was around your dad. This is what I saw. Da, 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 da. And at the like a 44-minute mark, I said, fine, mom. I'll freaking go to
I'll
a
agree with
meeting.
you.
Like,
Yeah.
just let me hang up the damn phone and, you know, goodbye.
Yeah.
But she said something in there to what you kind of said, right? So I get to break the cycle. It was up to me, right?
Yes.
And like your kids, if they choose to break the
That's
cycle,
right.
that's awesome. but
Yes,
you have no control over that. You can
that's
dictate
right.
until you're blue in the face. But if you listen to the previous episode where I said, I was always told what to do, I'm a rebel.
Yeah.
I don't want to go against the grain, right? I don't want to do what everybody says. I want to swim upstream. Why? Because it looks fun, right? It's totally difficult,
Yep. Yes.
Um, and so for me, I realized that I was able to break the cycle for myself. And I'm holding up the mirror for my kids to see their reflection. And if they want to ask the questions, then we can have those conversations. But all that matters in the moment is you.
Yep.
And that's a very interesting dichotomy, I think, for me is like, oh, I had a problem being selfish, but in the moment, I need to be selfish about my addiction and make sure that I've got support around it. And so, yeah, I mean, the thing for me is I don't think about alcohol unless you ask me a question about alcohol.
Right.
Right. My sponsor hasn't had a drink in 46 years. Can you imagine having a conversation about what alcohol was available 46 years ago versus what's available today? I mean, you want to talk about a billion brands versus probably
Yes.
100 back in the day, right? He's like,
Yes.
what's a Zuma? Like, I've never even had one of those, it's like, or Zima, or whatever the heck it was called, like just random things that you and I probably experienced in our lifetime, but he never would. So breaking a cycle, is super important. But I think the other thing that's really important, I was open to it because I was at the lowest point in my life.
Yeah.
When I was $1 million in debt, all I could think about was writing another credit card company to get another application submitted to see if I get approved.
Yeah.
Like, just, can you get me more money so I can just keep jacking around my life? And then it wasn't until I got clarity of like, well, if I change my mindset, I can change my bank account.
Yes. Yes. And then I agree thank you for that, because it really, it's a very difficult thing to do, to change that, to restructure and be the rebel. I am so much, I rebel against so many things I can't. And sometimes, of course, it hurts me because I rebel against exercise, right? Nobody's going to tell me I'm going to have to exercise, right? That's silly. Of course, this is my choice. But beyond that too, the other thing that I wanted to bring up is you said, when you were talking about your journal, you start with the what. You don't start with the who. And I was just talking to Nick Cavuto. I just interviewed him for this podcast, and he's talked about that very same thing. In the beginning, you talk about, what do you want for your day? What do you want? Not just who you want. Yes, it relates to who, because you want to spend more time with your wife, or you want to spend more time with the fur babies and go feed the ducks and go out and connect with the land and the people. But those are what. They're not just who. Those are the actions you want to take. Those are the feelings you want to have for the day. And that's really kind of backwards from what most everybody talks about. It's like, find your who first. Who are you going to serve? Who are you going to talk to? Sure. And it's really the opposite of that, to say, okay, no, what do I want to do with my time and my energy?
Well, Simon
focus.
Sinek talks about the why, right? And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Start with a question first. Yeah. That's just me. I mean, I'm not saying I'm famous in any regards to anybody, but I'm like, I'm famous. I'm a legend in my own mind. So, I know that for me, what motivates me is not money. Right. Now, when I was in my 20s and my 30s, I was only motivated by money. Yep. Right. So the things have changed, right? When you're in your 20s, you can think nothing more about, I think you may have heard me say this, but I choose every day to lead with my heart and not my wallet. Yeah. When I was in my 20s and my 30s, it was the opposite. Led with my wallet. And I made some money, but it became empty and meaningless. Now, when I lead with my heart, it fills up. I make a little bit of money and I'm having a great time. It's just a different position statement today. And so when I get out of bed in the morning, my questions are different than they were when I was in my teens and my 20s and my 30s. Now, as I'm leaving my 40s and entering my 50s, I only want to spend my time with people who matter and who matter so much that they decide that they matter and they want to do something about maybe a mistake that they made or something they didn't do they wish they would have done differently. I think that's what I'm more excited in at this time of my life. And I'm hoping I live another 50 years, right? I'm hoping that I get to leave that dash that the world gets to see behind, like, because there's a day you're born, the day you die, and in between is a dash. And I just truly want to live, and I want to be a ripple effect for others to say, Hey, I remember that guy on that podcast when they were married. Despite your past, you can create any future you want in this present moment. Like I want to know that that was possible. And I proved to myself it was.
Absolutely. And those are moments that are going to speak to someone. And the more moments we can leave like that, the more someone's we can impact.
I don't know how much
Wow.
video gets shown, but that guy right behind me,
Yes.
that's Sean Stevenson. So Sean and I were buds, and he's coming up on being gone 3 years here. And I think of him all the time. And, you know, I remember after Sean passed, I was just devastated because we were planning on hanging out and seeing each other. He was coming to Colorado a couple of days. And one day I got a little like on a post that I shared, and it was his mom. And his mom liked and commented on something. And I was friends with the dad, but like saw this name Gloria popped up. And I just thought, how glorious is this? Like Sean's spirit lives on, and his mom still can impact the world, and her heart's so big. And then I can still interact with my friend, even if it's through something different, but the vibrations of the world. And so, you know, we all have an opportunity to make an impact. You don't have to be some spiritual guru. You don't have to be a saint or this or that. It's just like we all have an opportunity. If we can shift our focus from all the crap you think that matters to like what really matters, is just humans helping humans. And if we do that, the world is just a better place.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit ceomischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.